The research vessel Harmony's light floated dead in space, its beautiful crystal walls now cracked and bleeding precious air into the void. Captain Valterra pressed her see-through hands against the control panel, watching in horror as every system on her ship died one by one. Red warning lights flashed everywhere, and the sound of alarms filled the corridors like screaming ghosts. "Captain, we're in serious trouble," called out Navigation Officer Quindell from across the bridge. His voice came through a special breathing mask that filtered methane gas, the only air his species could breathe. "The life support systems are shutting down fast. We got maybe 40 minutes before everyone on this ship dies." Valterra looked out through the ship's windows and felt her heart sink even deeper. Moving through the asteroid field like deadly sharks were the black ships of the Korvac raiders. These weren't traders or explorers. These were killers who attacked helpless vessels and took everything of value, leaving no survivors behind. The Harmony's Light was a peaceful research ship. They had no weapons, no shields, no way to fight back. The 43 crew members aboard came from different alien species that had never known war. Some breathed different gases, others lived in different gravity, but they all shared one thing. Now they were all about to die. "Send out a distress call," Valterra ordered, though she knew it was probably pointless. Her voice made beautiful musical sounds that resonated through the ship's living walls, broadcast on every frequency we have. "Maybe someone out there will remember us." Her communications officer, a small blue creature with 4 arms, worked frantically at his station. "Message going out now, Captain," he reported, his voice shaking with fear. The distress signal shot out into the dark emptiness of space. "Mayday, Mayday. This is Galactic Council Vessel Harmony's Light. Our hull is broken, engines are dead, life support is failing. We have 43 people aboard who need help. Anyone who hears this, please help us." For long moments, nothing happened except static crackling over the radio. Korvac ships moved closer, their weapons charging with deadly energy. Valterra closed her eyes and prepared to say goodbye to her crew. Then something impossible happened. A rough, strong human voice cut through the static. "We hear you, Harmony's Light. This is Captain Jake Miller on the human ship Defiance. We're coming to get you out of there. Stay where you are and get ready for some fireworks." The entire bridge went completely silent. Even the alarms seemed quieter. Valterra stared at the radio like it had just spoken in an ancient dead language.
"I did."
"He say human?" whispered the communications officer. Humans were just stories to most of the galaxy. Dangerous creatures from a death world called Earth, so violent and crazy that they were banned from most civilized space. What were they doing? Out here in the Void Sector, the most dangerous part of the galaxy, where even military fleets refused to go? Captain Quindell said slowly, "The Korvac ships are still closing in. Even if these humans are real, they can't possibly get here in time." Valterra looked at her dying ship, then at the approaching raiders, then back at the radio.
"I see."
No choice but to believe in this impossible rescue. "All crew members, this is your captain," she announced over the ship's speakers. "Help is coming. I don't know how, and I don't know from where, but someone heard our call. Hold on just a little longer." Outside, the Korvac raiders prepared their final attack run, confident that this defenseless research vessel would be easy. Pray, they had no idea that somewhere in the darkness, human ships were already moving at incredible speed toward the battle that was about to change everything. The darkness of space suddenly exploded with light brighter than a dozen suns. 3 enormous human warships appeared out of nowhere, dropping out of hyperspace so close that the Harmony's Light shook from the energy waves. These weren't the sleek, beautiful ships that other species built. These human vessels looked like they had been through 1,000 battles and won every single one. Engineer Polmesh, a small creature with 6 eyes, pressed all of them against the viewport and gasped. "By the ancient stars," he whispered, "those ships are covered in scars." The human dreadnoughts were massive, dark gray monsters with sharp angles everywhere. Heat poured off them in waves that would have killed most alien species instantly. Weapon turrets the size of buildings rotated on their hulls, pointing at the Korvac raiders like the fingers of death itself. The lead ship had words painted on its side. In human letters, Defiance. Without any warning or attempts to talk, it opened fire. The sound was incredible, even in the vacuum of space. Huge metal slugs shot out of the human weapons so fast they became streaks of light. When they hit the first Korvac raider ship, the enemy vessel simply came apart like it was made of paper. Pieces of metal and fire scattered in all directions. "Impossible," breathed Captain Valterra. "Those weapons are bigger than anything I've ever seen." The other two human ships, Relentless and Guardian, moved into position on either side of the Harmony's light with military precision that took Valterra's breath away. She had seen fleet exercises before, but nothing like this. These humans moved their massive warships like dancers, each one knowing exactly where the others would be. Harmony's light, "This is Commander Beth Taylor on the Guardian," came a calm female voice over the radio. While explosions lit up space all around them, this human woman sounded like she was ordering lunch. "We're sending rescue shuttles your way. Our people will come aboard and help get everyone to safety. Please prepare your crew for evacuation." "The raiders are still attacking," Valterra shouted back, watching another Korvac ship explode under human fire. "Don't worry about them," Captain Miller's rough voice cut in from the Defiance. As he spoke, his ship destroyed an entire enemy destroyer with one shot. "This is just a regular Tuesday for us, Captain. We've handled way worse than these pirates." Valterra stared in amazement as the battle raged around her ship. The Korvac raiders had been the terror of this sector for years. They had destroyed countless vessels and killed thousands of innocent people. But against the humans, they looked like children. Fighting adults, small, fast human shuttles launched from the warships and flew straight into the battle. Laser beams and missile explosions filled the space between ships. But the human pilots flew through it all like they were taking a pleasant drive through the park. They twisted and turned, dodged and weaved, making impossible moves that should have gotten them killed a dozen times over. "How are they doing that?" asked Quindel, watching a shuttle spin completely around while avoiding 3 different explosions. One of the shuttles headed straight for the Harmony's light. As it got closer, Valterra could see it was heavily armored and had weapons of its own. Through the cockpit window, she caught a glimpse of the pilot, a human woman with short hair and steady hands, flying through deadly combat like it was the most natural thing in the world. Behind them, the 3 human warships continued their devastating attack. Every shot they fired hit its target. Every move they made was perfect. Korvac raiders, who had seemed so terrifying just minutes before, were being wiped out completely. "This is Rescue Shuttle Alpha," came another human voice. "We're docking. With your ship now. Everyone stay calm and follow our instructions. We've done this before." As the shuttle connected to their ship, Valterra realized something that shook her to her core. These humans weren't just winning the battle, they were treating it like routine work. Like this was something they did every day. As soon as Valterra stepped inside the human rescue shuttle, she knew she was seeing something that should have been impossible. The small ship's interior was divided into different sections, each one glowing with a different colored light. Could hear the soft hum of machines working constantly, creating different types of air, different levels of heat, and even different amounts of gravity in each area. "Welcome aboard the Mercy," said Lieutenant Tom Rodriguez, a tall human wearing a thick environmental suit. When he spoke, his words came out as beautiful musical tones that Valterra could understand perfectly. "Don't worry about the atmosphere. We've got you covered." Valterra looked around in wonder. In one corner, she could see a section filled with methane gas, where Quindel would be able to breathe safely. Another area glowed with energy fields designed for beings made of pure light. There was even a high-gravity zone for species that came from heavy worlds. "How is this possible?" she asked. "No species has ever built a ship that could support so many different life forms at once." Lieutenant Rodriguez helped guide her to the crystalline life support area, where the air shimmered with the exact mineral content her species needed. "Doc Williams can explain it better than me. She's the genius who designed most of this stuff." In the medical bay, Valterra watched Dr. Lisa Williams work on injured crew members with steady, confident hands. The doctor was treating a Zephyrian, whose body was made of living gas, using tools that could actually touch and heal a creature that had no solid form. On the next bed, she worked on an energy being whose electromagnetic field was damaged, using equipment that most species didn't even know existed. Dr. Williams Quindell said as he settled into the methane-breathing area, "How do you know how to treat our injuries? Our species have completely different biology." Dr. Williams looked up from her work and smiled. "We study everyone we might need to help. Every species we've ever encountered, we learn about their biology, their medical needs, their atmospheric requirements. Earth taught us a hard lesson: adapt or die. So we chose to adapt to everything." She moved to another patient, this one a crystalline being like Veltara whose internal structure was cracked. Using a sonic healing device, she began repairing the damage with expert precision. "Your people's crystal matrix responds to specific sound frequencies. We learned that from studying the few medical texts your species shared with the galaxy. Veltara. Watch the human doctors save lives that no other species could have saved. The equipment in this small shuttle was more advanced than the medical facilities on most space stations. This must have cost your people a fortune to build." "Actually, most of this equipment was built by volunteers," Lieutenant Rodriguez said. "Engineers who donated their time, doctors who shared their knowledge, pilots who gave up their weekends to help design better life support systems. But why?" Veltara's crystalline form pulsed with confusion. "We are complete strangers. Your people gain nothing from helping us. You risk your lives, spend your resources, and ask for nothing in return." Lieutenant Rodriguez stopped what he was doing and stared at her like she had asked why water was wet. "You called for help, ma'am? That's all we needed to hear. But surely your government sent you? Your military ordered this mission?" Dr. Williams laughed while continuing to work on her patients. "Government? Military? Lieutenant? Did anyone order us to come out here today?" "Nope," Rodriguez replied. "We heard the distress call on the emergency frequencies and came running. Same as always." Veltara felt something she had never experienced before, complete bewilderment. "You mean you came here on your own? Without orders? Without payment?" "Right," the doctor said. "Tom here was actually supposed to be at his daughter's birthday party today. Captain Miller was planning to work on his garden. But when we heard your Mayday call, well, birthdays happen every year. People only die once." The shuttle shook slightly as the human warships outside finished destroying the last of the Korvac raiders. Through the viewport, Veltara could see the 3 massive human vessels moving into escort formation around her rescued crew. "How many ships like this do you have?" she asked quietly. "Ships like this one. Maybe 50 or 60 active in the outer sectors," Rodriguez answered casually, "plus another 100 or so in the inner systems, and about 200 more being built by volunteers. All for rescue work." "It's all for rescue work," Dr. Williams confirmed. "Someone needs help, we answer. Doesn't matter what species, doesn't matter where, doesn't matter how dangerous. If you call, we come." Veltara looked around at the impossible medical bay, at the humans who had risked everything to save strangers, at the technology that existed only to help others. For the first time in her long life, she began to understand that there was something in the galaxy that was stronger than fear, stronger than hatred, stronger even than the law of survival. These humans called it compassion. Inside the massive human warship Defiance, Captain Jake Miller sat at his command chair reading reports on a tablet while sipping coffee from a worn metal mug. Around him, the rescued aliens walked through corridors that looked nothing like what they expected from a military vessel. The walls were lined with storage compartments, each one marked with symbols they didn't recognize at first. Veltara stopped at one compartment and read the label out loud. "Emergency oxygen supplies. Type 7 methane breathers, Type 12 ammonia processors, Type 15 hydrogen absorption species." She looked up in shock. "These are medical supplies for dozens of different alien races." "That's right," said a passing human crew member, carrying a box of spare parts. "Never know who we might need to patch up out here." The storage bays they passed were enormous, filled from floor to ceiling with medical equipment that could stock a major hospital. Food supplies in sealed containers were labeled for species that ate everything from liquid nitrogen to pure energy. Life support machines hummed quietly, ready to create any type of atmosphere that might be needed. Captain Miller, Valterra said, approaching the human commander. This ship, it's not military, is it? Miller looked up from his reports and smiled. Military? Nah, we're civilians. Terran Emergency Response Corps, to be exact. We've got 47 ships like this one spread out across the outer rim, answering distress calls wherever we find them. 47 ships? Quindel S. Breathing mask made a wheezing sound of surprise. How long have you been doing this? About 30 years now, Miller replied, taking another sip of his coffee like he was discussing the weather. 30 years. Quindel nearly choked on his methane. But our official first contact with humans was only 5 years ago. The Galactic Council just learned your species existed. From across the bridge, Chief Engineer Mark Stevens burst out laughing. Ma'am, we've been pulling folks out of burning ships since before your fancy council even knew we were out here. Paperwork and politics don't help much when someone's dying in space. Miller stood up and walked over to a large tactical display that showed the entire sector. Dozens of small dots were scattered across the star map, each one representing a human rescue ship. See these. Every one of those dots is a crew like ours. They're positioned in the most dangerous parts of the galaxy, places where your regular ships won't go. Valterra studied the display, her crystalline form flickering with amazement. The Badlands, the Wraith Nebula, the Shattered Zones, those are death traps. No sane captain takes their ship into those regions. That's exactly why we're there, said Communications Officer Dave Chen, looking up from his station. Those are the places where people get into trouble and need help the most. But why? Valterra asked. The same question that had been bothering her since the rescue began. Your government doesn't order you to do this? You don't get paid for it? Why risk your lives for strangers? Miller scratched his beard and looked out at the stars through the bridge viewport. Well, it started small. A few retired military folks heard about some mining accidents way out in the frontier. Nobody else was going to help, so we grabbed some old ships and went ourselves. And it just grew from there, Stevens added. Word spread that humans would answer distress calls in places nobody else dared to go. More volunteers signed up. Engineers donated equipment. Doctors gave up their comfortable jobs to work on rescue ships. Every ship you see on that display is crewed by volunteers, Miller continued. Teachers, mechanics, retired soldiers, doctors, pilots who gave up high-paying jobs to come out here and save lives. Valterra was quiet for a long moment, processing what she had learned. Finally, she asked the question that had been burning in her mind. How many lives have you saved in 30 years? The entire bridge went silent. The crew members looked at each other, some smiling, others looking thoughtful. We stopped keeping an exact count after we hit 1,000 rescued ships, Miller said finally. But if I had to guess, maybe 50,000 people? Maybe more? 50,000? Valterra whispered. Could be higher, Stevens added. Remember that colony transport we pulled out of the gravity well near Kepler Station? That was 8,000 people right there. The important thing isn't the numbers, Miller said, settling back into his captain's chair. The important thing is that when someone calls for help, they know we'll answer. Doesn't matter what species they are. Doesn't matter where they're from. Doesn't matter if they can pay us back or not. Outside the bridge windows, the other human rescue ships, Relentant and Guardian, maintained their protective formation around the damaged Harmony's light. In the distance, space debris from the destroyed Korvac raiders drifted slowly away. Someone needs help, we answer, Miller said simply. That's just what humans do. The great council chambers on Nexus Prime, the galaxy's center of government, had never seen anything like this before. Representatives from hundreds of different species filled the massive hall, all talking at once, their voices creating a chaos of sounds, clicks, whistles, electronic beeps, and harmonic tones all mixing together in complete disorder. At the center of it all stood Captain Valterra, her crystalline form glowing brighter than usual under the stress. She had just finished telling her story about the human rescue, and the reaction was explosive. Order! Order! Called Chancellor Mordain, his energy-based body flickering rapidly as he tried to control the crowd. Let the investigation team present their findings. The lead investigator, a tall, thin alien with multiple eyes, stepped forward carrying a datapad that seemed far too heavy for its size. "Chancellor, what we discovered is... unprecedented. Over the past 30 years, humans have conducted over 2,000 documented rescue operations across our territory." Gasps echoed through the chamber. 2,000 rescues meant tens of thousands of lives saved. "But that's impossible," protested Ambassador Kethron from the Vegan Trade Union. "We would have known if an unknown species was operating in our space for 30 years. "That's just it," the investigator continued, his voice shaking with amazement. "They deliberately stayed hidden. Every single rescue was conducted with what they call minimal cultural contamination protocols. They saved lives, and then disappeared before anyone could ask questions." Chancellor Mordain's energy matrix pulsed with disbelief. "You're telling me these humans, these Deathworlders that we feared, have been secretly protecting our citizens all this time?" "The evidence is overwhelming," another investigator added, projecting holographic records into the air above the assembly. "Look at these reports. The merchant vessel Star Dancer saved by humans near the Typhon cluster. The research station Deep Thought evacuated by human crews when their reactor went critical. The passenger liner Gentle Breeze rescued from pirates in the Outer Rim." As the list continued, representatives began recognizing ships from their own worlds. The Altarian delegate stood up, his blue skin turning pale. "The Gentle Breeze. That carried my daughter. We were told they were saved by unknown benefactors. Those unknown benefactors were humans," Valtara said quietly. "They've been saving our people while we debated whether they were too dangerous to contact." More stories poured in from around the chamber. The Centurion ambassador talked about colony ships that vanished into dangerous space and somehow made it home safely. The vegan representative mentioned mining accidents where workers were mysteriously rescued from impossible situations. Every story had the same ending. Help arrived from nowhere, lives were saved, and the rescuers disappeared. "The vote is clear," Chancellor Mordain announced, his voice carrying across the silent chamber. "All in favor of offering immediate membership in the Galactic Council to the human species." Every hand, tentacle, energy field, and appendage in the room went up. It was unanimous. The formal invitation was sent out immediately, transmitted on all frequencies toward human space. The entire galaxy waited for their response. Captain Jake Miller's reply came back within just a few hours. Crackling over the emergency channels that the humans monitored constantly, "This is Captain Miller of the Terran Emergency. Response cores. We appreciate the invitation, Chancellor, but we're pretty swamped out here right now. Got 17 distress calls just today, and that's just from our sector. Maybe ask us again when the galaxy stops needing rescue." Miller out. The council chamber fell silent again. These humans had just been offered membership in the most powerful organization in the galaxy, and they turned it down because they were too busy saving lives, as if to prove Miller's point. Reports started flooding in from across known space. In the Helix Nebula, the merchant vessel Prophet's Dream suffered a massive hull breach that should have killed everyone aboard. The first voice to respond wasn't from the nearby space stations or patrol ships. It was human. "This is Tehran Emergency Response Ship Valor. We copy your Mayday Prophet's Dream. Stay calm. Help is 30 minutes out." In the dangerous Badlands, where no sane ship captain would venture, a colony transport carrying 5,000 settlers broke down with engine failure. Again, it was human voices that cut through the static first. "New Hope, this is Captain Danny Walsh on the rescue ship Indomitable. We've got your coordinates. Hang tight, we're coming to get you." And in the Outer Rim, where pirates and raiders ruled unopposed, distress calls that would have been ignored by everyone else received the same calm, confident response. "This is Terran's emergency response. We copy your distress call. Help is on." The way the galaxy had learned something that shook them to their core. The species they had feared most, the violent Deathworlders from the deadly planet Earth, had spent 30 years proving they were also the most compassionate beings in known space. And they were just getting started. Across the galaxy, human. Rescue ships continued their endless patrols, ready to answer any call for help. From any species, anywhere in the darkness of space. The most dangerous species in the galaxy had become its guardians, and they asked for nothing in return except the chance to save one more life.